February 5th, 1982, the Atlantic Ocean. 800 miles from land. Steven Callahan kneels in a 6-foot raft, spear aimed at the fish, keeping him alive. He drives it, the Dorado thrashes. The spear swings and punches through the raft floor beneath him. He hears the air leaving. Below him, sharks rise. The raft was rated for 40 days. It's day 43. His emergency beacon reached no one. 9 ships passed without seeing him. The nearest land is 800 miles away. But here's what makes this unlike any survival story you've heard. He wasn't enduring, he was engineering. A naval architect, he turned the raft into a life support system. Water from seawater, food from a hand-built spear, and navigation from pencils. That's not luck. He built a machine. Every piece of that machine was trying to kill him. The fish that fed him holed his raft. The sharks it drew circled below. He was losing a war against his own systems. This isn't the story of a man who outlasted the sea. It's the story of a man who outdesigned it. How do you keep a dying raft and a dying body alive when every tool you own is breaking? January 29, 1982. The Canary Islands. The port of El Hierro. Steven Callahan, naval architect, age 30, casts off the lines of a 21-foot sloop called Napoleon Solo. He designed her. He built her with his own hands over 2 years in a Maine boatyard. He has been sailing her across oceans since the launch. The current passage is his solo crossing of the Atlantic, west from the Canaries toward Antigua, on the trade wind route used by Columbus. He has been provisioning for 4 weeks. He has every safety system the early 80s offer. He has charts, a sextant, and a radio. He has an emergency position indicating radio beacon strapped to the bulkhead, though the satellite network that will read its signal worldwide is not yet in operation. In 1982, an EPIRB is a transmitter that hopes a passing aircraft is listening on the right frequency. He is 6 days out of port when the boat hits something in the dark. It is the night of February 4th. The wind is up. The seas are short and high. Callahan is below in his bunk when the impact comes, a sudden hard concussion against the hull, exactly amidships, the kind of blow no rope or wave makes. He will spend the rest of his life believing it was a whale. He is on the deck for 3 seconds. He hears water coming in. The hole is below the waterline. He can hear it, but he cannot reach it. The boat is going down. He has minutes. He inflates the 6-foot life raft. He tethers it to the boat. He climbs in. This is the moment most sailors freeze. Most sailors, at this moment, do what their instinct tells them. They grab food. They grab water. They grab the radio. They wait for the boat to take itself under. Callahan does the opposite. Naked, in February, and in the Atlantic. Alone in the dark, he goes back into the boat. He drives through the open hatch into a cabin that is now half full of cold seawater. He cannot see. The boat is rolling down. The mast is dragging. Every dive he takes, the cabin is fuller. He surfaces, gasps, dives again. He is not retrieving supplies, he is retrieving capability. He brings up the spear gun. He brings up the solar stills, the chemical desalination devices that, with sunlight, can produce drinking water from salt water. He brings up the navigation kit. He brings up a copy of Dougal Robertson's Sea Survival, a book written by another castaway, passed hand to hand among open ocean sailors that he had stowed under his bunk for exactly this night. He surfaces, throws the gear into the raft, and dives again. He brings up sleeping bags. He brings up flares. He brings up a knife. He brings up the cabbage. When Napoleon Solo finally rolls and goes under, he cuts the tether. The raft drifts away from the wreck. He sits in it, naked, in the dark, in the wind, in the rain, and watches the boat he designed and built disappear under the surface of the Atlantic. It is the last he will see of any object he did not make himself for 2.5 months. In the gray of dawn the next morning, he takes inventory. He has a spear gun, has stills, a survival manual. He even has a pound of food in cans and 8 pints of water in plastic containers. The manufacturer assures that it will last for the last 40 days. The nearest landfall in the Caribbean is 1,800 nautical miles to the west. At the drift rate of the equatorial current, he will reach it in approximately 6 weeks. He runs the arithmetic in his head, the way the naval architect's mind runs every arithmetic. The supplies will last a few days. The crossing will take weeks. The numbers do not work. He has, in this raft with this gear, a death sentence. He sits with it for a moment. Then he opens the survival manual. He starts to read. He reads the manual twice that morning. He stops on the page that lists the priorities of survival at sea. Shelter, water, food, signals, navigation. He has a shelter. He has a few minutes of water. He has hours of food. He has no working signal. He has dead reckoning navigation only. He copies the list onto the first page of his log. Can a man build a working water machine out of broken plastic and a paperback book before his body runs out of time? And what happens when it fails on the very first day? The solar still fails on the first day. The device is a clear plastic balloon, 12 inches across, with a cup at its base and a wick that draws seawater up the inside wall. Sunlight evaporates the salt water. The fresh water condenses on the dome and runs down to the cup. The system, in theory, produces a pint of drinkable water per day per still. Callahan has 2 of them. He inflates the first one according to the manual. He fills the seawater reservoir. He hangs it from a line strung across the canopy of the raft. He waits. By evening, the cup contains a 1/4 inch of brackish, salty liquid. He tastes it. He cannot drink it. He goes back to the manual. He reads it again. He looks at the still. He sacrifices the second still. He cuts it open. He examines its construction. He identifies the failure point in the first one with a leak in the seal where the wick passes through the cup. He patches it with cement from his repair kit. He inflates the patched still again. He hangs it out. By the second evening, the cup contains 1/2 inch of water. He tastes it. It is fresh. Within a week, the patch still is producing close to a pint a day. He builds a routine around it. He cleans it every morning. He patches its slow leaks every evening. He refills the seawater reservoir 3 times a day. He measures the output to the milliliter. He has, with 1 repaired piece of plastic, solved the water problem. The food problem solves itself. The Dorado arrives on the 4th day. They are large fish 3 feet long, silver blue along the spine, yellow along the belly, with the muscular shoulders of an apex pelagic predator. They gather in the shadow of the raft, drawn by the structure on the surface and the small fish that gather under it. By the end of the first week, there are 15 or 20 of them swimming circles below his keel. He builds the spear. The shaft is a piece of aluminum tubing he salvaged from Napoleon Solo. The tip is a steel spear point from the small recreational spear gun, removed from its mechanism and lashed to the shaft with a sail twine. The handle is a piece of wooden dowel he wraps in cord for grip. He spends 3 days learning the angle. The water bends light. The fish are not where they appear to be. The spear must enter the water at an angle that compensates for the refraction. The thrust must be hard enough to drive through 8 inches of muscle. The follow-through must be controlled enough that he does not lose the spear, the fish, or his balance. The Dorado will not strike a stationary spear. They strike at movement. He learns to lower the point slowly into the water from the upwind side, where the shadow of the raft does not warn the fish, and to hold it motionless for a count of 40 seconds before the thrust. On the 11th day, he kills his first Dorado. He hauls it into the raft. It thrashes for 3 minutes. It floods the raft floor with blood. He kills it with a knife. He butchers it according to the survival manual for every part of the fish, the muscle, the liver, the heart, the eyes, the spinal fluid for the trace of moisture. He eats raw mussels. He dries strips of the rest on the canopy lines under the sun. He calls himself, in his notebook that night, an aquatic caveman. The first successful catch produces 2.5 days of food. He builds navigation. His sextant on the precision instrument used by mariners to determine latitude from the angle of the sun went down with the boat. He builds a replacement out of pencils. He tapes 2 pencils together at a fixed angle calibrated from the survival manual's tables. He sights the sun at noon. He estimates his latitude within 50 miles. He builds the log, tracking everything: drift and weather, water output and food intake, Dorado caught and Dorado missed, position estimated, repairs made. Then he builds the routine sunrise to inspect the raft, refill the stills, 3 hours of fishing, then distilling water, eating, sleeping in shifts, and at sunset, inventorying everything, reading the manual, before starting over again the next day. By day 20, he has built a working life support system out of a rubber raft, 2 pieces of plastic, an aluminum tube, and a book. He has water and food. He has navigation. He has an order. It is a freighter, 10 miles to the north, moving east. He fires one of his 3 signal flares, watches it arc across the morning sky, and then watches the freighter not change course, disappear over the horizon, until he sits back down in the raft and understands, in that moment, what the real problem is. He can keep himself alive, but he cannot, with this equipment, get himself found. What happens when every system he built to stay alive starts breaking faster than one starving man can fix? And how many ships must sail past before rescue stops being a plan? The body begins eating itself. Callahan, who started this voyage at 170 pounds, is at 150 by day 25. He has stopped urinating regularly. The skin on his thighs has loosened from the muscle beneath it. The sores have begun. Saltwater sores are not abrasions. They are open ulcerations of skin that have been wet too long. Salt crystals embed in the wounds and prevent healing. New ones open every day on his hips, on his back, on the backs of his thighs where they touch the bottom of the raft. He treats them with antiseptics in his small kit. He runs out on day 29. The stills begin to fail. Each still is rated for 2 weeks of operation. Both of them are now beyond the rating. The first one, the one he sacrificed and rebuilt, has developed 3 slow leaks in its seams. He patches them with cement. The patches hold for a day. He patches them again. By day 30, he is spending 2 hours every morning maintaining the stills. The water yield has dropped to half a pint a day from each. The spear gun begins to fail. The lashings on the spear point loosen with every kill. The wooden handle splits along the grain from the strain. He rewraps it. He reminds the lashings. Each kill takes longer than the last. The Dorado have learned. They no longer swim directly under the raft. They circle at the edge of his reach. The sharks arrive on day 34. They are drawn by blood. Every Dorado he spears produces a slick of blood that drifts away from the raft on the current. By the morning of day 35, there are 4 black-tip sharks circling beneath him. By day 40, there are 8. They do not attack the raft. They do, on 3 separate occasions, take Dorado off the end of his spear before he can pull the fish in. He watches them. He learns their patterns. They feed at dawn and dusk. They circle counterclockwise. They wait for the blood. He learns to time his kills against the gaps in their rotation, the small windows in which a hauled fish has 30 seconds to reach the raft before the first shark closes. The act of feeding himself is now the act of summoning the things that may kill him. He sees the second ship on day 38, a bulk carrier. Closer than the first one 4 miles, he fires a flare. The flare lights in the morning. The bulk carrier does not change course. He sees the third ship on day 41. He has 2 flares left. He fires one. The ship continues east, logs it. He sees the 4th ship on day 42. He fires his last flare. The ship does not see it. 4 ships, 0 responses. He starts to count differently. He keeps the count in the log, in the margin, in numbers smaller than the rest of his handwriting. The count is the only thing in the log that does not measure progress. On the morning of day 43, the Dorados are gathered tighter than usual. He needs the kill. The food strips on the canopy are gone. He has eaten the last of his reserves. He leans over the side. He picks his fish. He drives the spear. The Dorado is hit. It thrashes. The spear point swings. It tears through the buoyancy tube on the floor of the raft. He looks down. He sees the air leaving the tube. He sees the raft beginning to sink under his weight. The thing that has been keeping him alive has just punctured the only thing standing between him and the sharks. How do you repair a 5-centimeter hole in a rubber raft when the patch kit only covers 2? And how do you keep fishing for the same fish that just tried to sink you? He has, by his calculation, 90 minutes before the lower tube is empty. He works in those 90 minutes the way a man works when the work itself is the only thing keeping his lungs above the waterline. He pulls the survival manual. He opens it to the repair section. He locates the patch kit, a small cardboard envelope containing 3 rubber patches, a tube of cement, and a roll of waterproof tape. The manual specifies patches for punctures up to 2 centimeters. The hole the spear has torn is 5 centimeters wide. He does what an engineer does when the specified solution does not fit the problem. He improvises. He cuts open one of his sleeping bags. He extracts a strip of closed-cell foam from the lining. He cuts the foam into the size of the hole. He cements it into the puncture from the inside. He folds the rubber of the tube around the foam. He stitches the rubber to the rubber with a sail twine, using a needle from his sewing kit, going through the membrane in tight loops the way a surgeon sutures muscle. He cements the C. He tapes the seam. He clamps the seam, where the curvature of the tube makes the tape want to release, with the tines of a metal fork he salvaged from Napoleon Solo. He bends the fork into a clip and crushes it onto the patch. He inspects it every 6 hours. He restitches a section that begins to pull loose on the 3rd day. He doubles the cement on the inside seam on the 7th day. The patch is not a fix. The patch is a maintenance schedule. The lower tube, the one that gives the raft its floor, now slowly, continuously, leaks air. He must pump it by hand. He uses the small bellows pump from the raft repair kit. He pumps for 40 minutes every 2 hours, all day, all night, in shifts. The 40 minutes of pumping consume calories he does not have. He is now spending energy he cannot produce to keep a damaged raft inflated, while continuing to maintain the stills, while continuing to fish for the same Dorado that hold him, while his body breaks down faster than his routine can compensate. He loses 10 more pounds in the next 2 weeks. The cruelty of the new arithmetic is precise. Every meal he wants to take requires him to spear a fish. Every fish he spears risks tearing the raft again. He cannot eat without endangering the surface he is eating on. He develops techniques. He moves the spear point through the water with one hand on the shaft and one hand cupped against the angle to prevent the recoil swing that hold the raft. The kills take longer. The Dorado dive further from his hand. There is no winning move left. There is only the decision made again each morning, not to lose today. He sees the 5th ship on day 49. He has no flares left. He waves a piece of orange sailcloth. The ship continues. The 6th ship is on day 53. He waves the cloth. The ship continues. The 7th is on day 59. The 8th is on day 64. The 9th is on day 68. None of them see him. He logs each one in the small margin numbers. On day 74, the patch still gives out. He spends 6 hours trying to revive it. He cannot. The second still has been falling since day 60. He is producing on day 74 less than 1/4 of a pint of water a day for a body that needs 2 quarts. He has stopped sweating. He has stopped urinating. His mouth has cracked open. That night, lying on his back in the half-deflated raft with the pump in his right hand and the ocean below him, he looks up at the sky. He will later write down what he saw. He writes that the night sky over the Atlantic, from the seat of a sinking raft 1,800 miles from the nearest light, is a view of heaven from a seat in hell. It is the only sentence in his log that is not arithmetic. On day 75, he notices the birds. He has noticed them before. They have been there for weeks. Tropic birds, terns, the occasional booby. They have circled the raft because the Dorado underneath it has drawn them. He has been fed from this ecosystem for 2 months. He has never once considered what it looks like from outside. Now he does. To the west, low gray smudges on the horizon resolve over the next hour into the shape of land. He recognizes the profile from his log. Marie Gallant, east of Guadeloupe. The current is taking him past it, not into it. He cannot stand it. He cannot row. He has no flares. His stills are dead. He has a body that weighs less than it did at the age of 12, a half-inflated raft he must pump by hand every 2 hours, and a piece of orange cloth. He pumps the raft. He waves the cloth. 9 ships passed without seeing him. Every system designed to save him has already failed. He built everything he owns, repaired everything he built, and refused to lose today for 75 days straight. The only thing still circling above the raft is not something he designed, not something he patched, and not something he can control. How does a man who solved every problem the ocean gave him get found when every tool designed to find him is already gone? And why does the answer have nothing to do with anything he built? Late in the morning of 76, a small open fishing boat appears on the water between him and the island. It is a single wooden vessel. There are 3 men in it. They are fishermen from Marie Galante, working the inshore grounds. The fishermen are not looking for a castaway. They are following the birds. They have been following the birds for an hour, because the birds have been circling something, and birds circle fish. The fishermen are tracking a school. The school is the school of Dorado that has lived under Steven Callahan's raft for 2 months. The fishermen reach the raft. They see the man inside it. They see the patched bottom. They see the spear. They see the small notebook of arithmetic in his hands. They pull him aboard. He weighs less than he weighed at the age of 12. He cannot walk. He has not stood up for 76 days. His skin is the color of old paper. His tongue is black. He is alive. The ecosystem he had been living off, the Dorado that had fed him, the Dorado that had hoped his raft, the Dorado that had drawn the birds, had drawn the men. The fish that nearly killed him had brought him the boat. He was not rescued. He had made himself found. He spends 6 weeks in a hospital on Guadeloupe and then in the United States. He has lost a third of his body weight. He has muscle damage to his legs that will take months of physical therapy to undo. He has scars on his hips and his back that he will carry for the rest of his life. His doctors publish a brief case report on the metabolic profile of a man who has lived 76 days on roughly 400 calories a day and a pint of water. The conclusions are clinical. None of them explain how he kept the raft inflated. He writes a book about it in 1986. He calls it Adrift. The book becomes the foundational text on solo open ocean survival. It is read like the Dougal-Robertson manual he himself read on the morning of February 5, 1982, by sailors who have not yet needed it. Steven Callahan never stops sailing. He designs more boats. He consults decades later on a film about a different castaway. He lives. The raft was warranted by its manufacturer 40 days. Callahan kept it alive for 76. He did not do it by being lucky. He did not do it by being tough in any way the word usually means. He did it by treating every problem the ocean put in front of him as a problem to be worked, every system as a system to be maintained, and every failure as the next thing to be fixed. He did not survive in the Atlantic. The man who designed boats, reduced to a tin can and a spear and a book, simply refused to stop solving the problem in front of him. He outlasted the machine. That is not a story about a man who was extraordinary. It is a story about a method, problem by problem, repair by repair, morning by morning. Not because Callahan was built differently from you, because he refused to stop treating each new disaster as the next thing to be solved. Your worst day is a problem to work on, not fate to endure. That is what competence actually is, not a gift, not a miracle. A decision made again each morning not to lose today. Competence is a form of hope. The manual Callahan read on the morning after the sinking was written by Dougal-Robertson, another castaway who had survived his own open ocean wreck and put everything he learned onto paper so the next person would have something to read in the dark. Callahan read Robertson. Other sailors will read Callahan, survival knowledge passed hand to hand, across the sea, between people who never met to people they will never meet. Each one leaves something behind for the next person who needs it. If you want to understand what happens when a man is buried alive in snow with no rescue coming and decides the only way out is to build one from inside the dark, that story is already up.